Walter Elias Disney was born in Chicago in 1901, the fourth child of Flora and Elias Disney. His father was afraid that the crime and saloon-ridden streets made it an unsuitable place to raise children. He decided to move his family to a farm in Marceline, Missouri. Walt loved the farm, the animals, the apple orchards. Elias had trouble keeping the farm afloat, and the family moved to Kansas City, where he bought a newspaper delivery group. Walt was no fan of formal education, but he loved performing. With a friend, Walt Pfeiffer, he developed skits as The Two Walts, which had the neighborhood in stitches. When Walt finished 7th grade, his family moved to Chicago. Walt stayed behind for a job selling peanuts, popcorn, and newspapers on the Santa Fe Railroad. In the fall, Walt enrolled in Chicago's McKinley High School. There he acquired a reputation as an artist, based on his drawings for the school newspaper. Walt was consumed with a desire to fight in the Great War in Europe. He lied about his age and joined the Red Cross Ambulance Corps. Though the war had ended, he was soon on his way to France, where he drove a truck, chauffeured officers, and saw the country. Home again in 1919, Walt decided he wanted to be an artist. After several brief efforts, he was working on simple animated shorts for the Kansas City Film Ad Company. Soon, Walt had set up his own cartoon studio. He produced a series of animated shorts called Laugh-O-Grams, cartoon versions of famous fairy tales. In July 1923, Walt went to seek his fortune in Hollywood.
I came to Hollywood. There was just one thing I wanted to do. I wanted to get into the motion picture business. I wanted to be a director. That was my ambition, my goal, to be a director. When things began to look pretty hopeless, I then got my cartoon thing out again.
Instead, he returned to his roots as a cartoonist and launched the Disney Brothers studio with his brother Roy. Their tiny staff included a pretty young woman named Lillian Bounds. Soon they were in production on a series of cartoons based on the antics of Alice, a live-action character who plays with cartoon characters. Meanwhile, Walt fell in love with Lillian, whom he always called Lily. They were married on July 13, 1925, and honeymooned at Mount Rainier. When the Alice series ended, Walt developed a new character, Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. Oswald was a hit, but on a trip to New York, Walt discovered he had lost the Oswald rights to his distributor, Charlie Mintz. Walt wired a telegram to Roy. "Don't worry, everything okay." Then, as legend has it, he began sketching a new character on his way back west. With the help of master animator Ub Iwerks, he soon finished the first cartoon with this character, whose name was Mickey Mouse. On December 18, 1933, after 2 miscarriages, Lily gave birth to Diane Marie Disney. Walt was thrilled. Now he really had it made. Based on the success of Mickey Mouse, he was able to afford a large house and an expensive hobby, polo. So what did Walt do? Risk it all by making Snow White, the world's first feature-length cartoon. Roy was dubious, but Walt was, as always, confident.
This little fellow is bashful. He's secretly in love with Snow White.
In January 1937, Walt's family expanded again when he and Lily adopted 2-week-old Sharon May Disney. On December 21st, 1937, Snow White opened. It was a smash, and Walt started moving forward on 3 other features: Pinocchio, Fantasia, and Bambi. Flora and Elias moved to California, and the family celebrated their 50th anniversary together. The studio had grown way beyond the days when the staff was a close-knit group and Walt was familiar with each artist's work. Organizers led many staffers out on strike. Walt believed all his life that the strike was encouraged by communists outside of the studio.
When he pulled the strike, the first people to smear me and put me on the unfair list were all of the Commie Front organizations.
During the strike itself, he went on a South American goodwill tour, in part to escape the unpleasantness at home. Just 2 months later, the United States was plunged into war. The military took over much of Walt's studio. Walt spent most of the next several years contributing to the war effort. including educational films for the public.
So you see, this is the result of being a good boy for 30 years.
By the end of the 1950s, Walt's work on Disneyland, live-action films, true-life adventures, animation, and television was all booming. He'd come a long way from the end of World War II, when the studio was in the doldrums.
A little louder, it's kind of noisy in here.
In the late 1940s, Walt became absorbed by hobbies. He built miniature models and constructed a 1/8 sized train that ran in a half-mile circle around his house. He may have looked like he was preparing for retirement. He wasn't. In 1950, Walt released Treasure Island. Walt loved the flexibility he found in his first all-live-action movie.
Jules Verne once said, "What one man can imagine, other men can do."
But Walt's most remarkable project had its roots when his children were young. According to daughter Diane,
Dad wanted to create a place where the whole family could have fun together, where there was something for everybody to do.
Disneyland opened on July 17, 1955. The park became Walt's greatest love. He never tired of improving it. Walt long believed television held vast opportunities. His first show was a 1-hour special in 1950.
Do you girls know this character, Disney?
Yes, he's our father.
His family was expanding too. Diane and Sharon both got married during the 1950s. Their husbands, Ron Miller and Bob Brown, came to work with him. Grandchildren started to arrive quickly. Ultimately, there would be 10 of them.
So to have the public appreciate and accept what I've done all these years, that is a great reward.
The last 6 years of Walt's life were a rush of activity. Mary Poppins author P.L. Travers had finally agreed to let Walt make a film out of her creation.
We do so want to get on with the new nanny.
He also took on the challenge of creating 4 attractions for the 1964 World's Fair.
We use our audio animatronic figures. And at the State of Illinois exhibit, we're going to have great moments with Mr. Lincoln.
Walt was secretly buying up land in the Orlando area for something called the Florida Project.
Epcot will take its cue from the new ideas and new technologies that are now emerging from the creative centers of American industry.
All the while, no matter what else was happening, he enjoyed his growing family as much as possible. They shared a memorable cruise together in July of 1966, during which Walt and Lily celebrated their anniversary. Walt wouldn't live to see the year's end. After years of smoking, he died of lung cancer in December 1966. He never wasted a moment of his 65 years.
It seems unlikely, but if you had it to do over again, would you do any part of it differently?
Well, if I had it to do over again, I think, no, I don't think I would.